Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling completely drained? As if someone just reached inside you and took all your energy, yet they said nothing harsh, nothing obvious, nothing you could point to and say, that was wrong. But you know something inside you feels off. That right there is how toxic people work. They don't always shout. They don't always insult. Sometimes they smile while cutting you down slowly. They disguise manipulation as concern. They hide control under the mask of love. They make you question your worth without ever raising their voice. And before you know it, you start changing, not because you grew, but because you've been shrinking to fit inside their comfort zone. You start apologizing for things that aren't your fault. You start second-guessing your instincts. You stop shining so brightly because your light makes them uncomfortable. And in that quiet suffocation, you forget something important. You forget who you are. But here's the truth. Toxic people only have as much power as you give them. They don't destroy you. They distract you. They pull you into their chaos, and when you start to fight them on their level, you've already lost. Because the smartest way to deal with toxic people is not to fight harder. It's to respond smarter. And that begins with understanding something most people never realize. Not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay. Some are lessons, some are mirrors, and some are tests to see if you've learned how to protect your peace. So today, I want to talk to you about how to deal with toxic people the intelligent way, without losing your calm, without losing your confidence, and without letting their chaos become your identity. Because power doesn't always roar. Sometimes power walks away quietly, calmly, and completely unbothered. The moment you stop reacting, you start winning. The moment you stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, you rise above. And that's when you reclaim your peace, your clarity, and your strength. Let's talk about how to do that the smart way. Toxic people don't choose just anyone. They choose you for a reason. They're drawn to kindness, empathy, and strength because it makes them feel powerful to control what they can't naturally create within themselves. They are magnetized by the calm in you that they lack. They crave the light in you that exposes their darkness. That's why you'll notice toxic people rarely pick fights with those who have nothing to lose. They go after those who have something valuable, peace, purpose, or self-respect. You see, toxicity isn't always loud or violent. It's subtle. It's the friend who constantly undermines your achievements with a smile. It's the coworker who spreads small doses of doubt about your capabilities. It's the partner who says, you're too sensitive every time you express your feelings. Their weapon isn't honesty, it's confusion. They blur the lines between care and control until you start questioning your own perception. That's the game, to make you doubt yourself so they can dominate the narrative. They target strong people because your strength threatens their illusion of control. They can't compete with you, so they try to make you compete with yourself. When they see your light, they don't want to grow. They want to dim it. Their goal is not connection, it's control. And once you understand that, you stop trying to make sense of their behavior. You realize it was never about you being too much, it was about them being too little to handle someone like you. Most people waste their energy trying to decode toxic behavior. Why would they do this? How can someone be so cruel? But here's the truth. The why doesn't matter. Toxic people hurt others because they can't handle the pain of facing themselves. They use you as a mirror to project everything they refuse to confront. The moment you stop personalizing their actions, you take away their greatest weapon, your emotional response. So instead of asking, why are they like this? Start asking, why am I still allowing this? That shift changes everything. Because when you understand that their chaos is not yours to manage, you regain control. You stop explaining yourself to those who enjoy misunderstanding you. You stop seeking closure from those who benefit from your confusion. You stop trying to heal people who are comfortable living broken. Understanding them is not about empathy. It's about awareness. When you see through their patterns, you stop playing their game. You stand calm, collected, and unbothered while their manipulation loses its power. That's when you become untouchable. Not because they've changed, but because you finally did. The smartest way to deal with toxic people is to control your energy, because that's what they're really after, your reaction, your emotions, your peace. Toxic individuals thrive on emotional chaos. They need to see you upset, defensive, or angry, because that's how they confirm they still have influence over you. The moment you react, you feed their ego. The moment you stay calm, you starve it. You can't control what they say, what they do, or how they twist your words. But you can control your response. And that's where your real power lies. Emotional control isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's the ability to look at someone who's trying to trigger you and say, silently or out loud, you don't get to move me today. Because every reaction is a transaction. When you react, you pay them with your peace. When you stay centered, you keep your power. Some people mistake silence for surrender, but silence is strategy. It's choosing not to dance to someone else's tune. When you argue with toxic people, you validate their behavior. They twist your words, they play the victim, and they walk away feeling justified while you're left drained and confused. But when you stay calm, when you respond with measured words, or sometimes no words at all, you make them confront themselves, something they deeply avoid. There's an emotional discipline that comes from understanding that not every battle is yours to fight. Sometimes you win by not engaging. You don't have to prove who you are to people committed to misunderstanding you. You don't have to explain your boundaries to those who never respected them in the first place. The moment you realize your energy is sacred, you start treating it like currency. You spend it wisely, not on arguments that lead nowhere. Learn to pause before reacting. Take a breath. Ask yourself, if I give this my attention, what will it cost me? Because not every situation deserves a response, and not every insult deserves your energy. The strongest people are not those who shout the loudest. They're the ones who can stand in the middle of chaos and remain calm. They don't let anyone pull them into emotional quicksand. When you master your emotions, you master your life. People will test your patience, your kindness, and your peace, but they can't take what you refuse to give. So guard your calm fiercely. Protect your focus, because once you stop letting toxic people control your emotional thermostat, you'll realize something powerful. Peace isn't found by removing chaos, it's found by refusing to become part of it. Boundaries are not about shutting people out, they're about protecting what's sacred within you. They are the invisible lines that separate what you will allow from what you will not. Too often, people confuse boundaries with walls. Walls keep everyone out, but boundaries let the right people in and keep the wrong ones at a distance. Boundaries are not built from fear. They're built from clarity, the clarity of knowing your worth, your values, and what peace costs you. Toxic people don't respect boundaries because boundaries limit their control. They test them, push them, and guilt trip you for having them. They'll say things like, you've changed, or you're being cold. But what they really mean is, I can't manipulate you the way I used to. That's why setting boundaries feels uncomfortable at first, because it disrupts the dynamic that once drained you. But the truth is, anyone who's offended by your boundaries was benefiting from your lack of them. Having boundaries doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care about yourself enough not to be used, drained, or disrespected. It's not about control, it's about self-respect. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. If you continue to allow someone to cross your lines, you silently tell them it's okay. So stop expecting toxic people to suddenly become self-aware. Start becoming clear on what behavior no longer deserves a place in your life. You can set boundaries quietly. You don't have to announce them. You enforce them through action, not explanation. You stop over-explaining your choices. You limit your time with people who leave you exhausted. And you simply say no without guilt. Because every time you say yes to something that violates your peace, you say no to yourself. Boundaries remind you that your time, energy, and emotional space are valuable resources, not open fields for others to trample. Healthy boundaries don't make you distant. They make you defined. They create safety in your relationships because people know where they stand. You're no longer reactive or resentful because you've clearly outlined what's acceptable. And when someone keeps crossing the line after you've drawn it, you stop arguing and start walking. Distance becomes your defense, not anger. Strong people aren't heartless. They're simply selective. They know that not everyone deserves access to their vulnerability. Boundaries are the gatekeepers of peace. They filter out the noise, the manipulation, and the emotional chaos that tries to enter your space. When you live with boundaries, you stop surviving relationships. You start mastering them, and that's when your peace becomes your greatest power. Detachment is not about not caring, it's about caring intelligently. It's the art of standing in your truth without needing anyone else's approval to validate it. Detachment means you stop giving emotional discounts to people who keep overcharging your peace. It's not coldness or indifference. It's clarity. You begin to see people and situations exactly as they are, not as you wish they would be. And when you reach that level of awareness, you stop trying to fix what doesn't want to be healed. Toxic people feed on attachment. They want you emotionally entangled, invested, and reactive. They pull you into cycles of hope and disappointment. One day they lift you up, the next day they tear you down. It's how they maintain control. But when you learn to detach, you take back your emotional freedom. You stop trying to win arguments that don't matter. You stop waiting for apologies that will never come. You stop giving them the satisfaction of watching you break. Detachment doesn't mean you don't feel, it means you don't absorb. You can see their behavior, recognize the manipulation, and still choose not to participate. You start responding instead of reacting. You start observing instead of absorbing. You learn that silence can be louder than shouting, and walking away can be more powerful than proving your point. When you stop letting people dictate how you feel, you reclaim the steering wheel of your own peace. The reason detachment feels so powerful is because it breaks the emotional leash toxic people use to control you. Once they realize they can't make you angry, jealous, or desperate, their power collapses. They don't know how to handle calm energy. It forces them to face themselves. Detachment turns the tables. Instead of you chasing their validation, they start wondering why their usual tricks no longer work. You detach, not to punish them, but to protect yourself. You stop expecting closure, you stop explaining your boundaries, and you stop rehearsing conversations that only drain you. You start focusing on your growth, your peace, your purpose. That's what detachment really is. The moment you choose yourself over the chaos, it's choosing mental clarity over emotional exhaustion. People often think love means staying, fixing, or tolerating, but real love for yourself sometimes means walking away. Detachment gives you freedom. It allows you to forgive without reconnecting, to care without clinging, to love without losing yourself. When you master detachment, you no longer react to every storm because you finally realize you are the calm. And in that calm, no one can reach you unless you open the door. That's the ultimate power. Rising above toxic people means choosing peace over power. And that's one of the hardest lessons you'll ever learn. When someone disrespects you, lies about you, or tries to bring you down, your first instinct is to defend yourself, to prove your worth, to fight back. But that's exactly what they want. Toxic people feed on reactions. They thrive when you're angry, emotional, or trying to prove a point. They know how to twist the narrative until you look like the problem, and they walk away looking innocent. But when you rise above, when you stop responding to their games, they lose their grip. Choosing peace doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're wise. It means you've learned that not every battle deserves your energy. Some fights are designed to distract you from your growth. Some people only come into your life to drain your focus and destroy your calm. And when you recognize that, you stop fighting for closure and start fighting for your own peace. The real victory isn't proving them wrong, it's showing them that they can no longer affect your spirit. There's a deep kind of power that comes from restraint, from not responding to the text meant to provoke you, from walking away when your ego wants to argue, from choosing silence when chaos invites you to react. That's not avoidance. That's mastery. It's the understanding that peace is something you build, from within, and no one gets to take that away unless you hand it to them. When you rise above, you stop trying to control how others see you. You realize that people who truly know you don't need explanations, and those who choose to misunderstand you will twist your words no matter what you say. So instead of defending yourself, you protect your energy. Instead of proving your worth, you embody it. That's what peace looks like: calm, composed, untouchable. Toxic people lose interest in those they can't control. When you stop giving them emotional access, they start looking for someone else to manipulate. So don't chase revenge. Don't chase validation, chase peace, because peace lasts longer than any argument ever will. In the end, your silence will say more than their noise. Your calm will expose their chaos. And your decision to rise above will remind everyone watching that real power isn't in fighting back. It's in walking away without losing yourself. At the end of the day, you must remember this. Not every person who enters your life deserves a seat at your table, and not every voice deserves your attention. Some people are sent to teach you what peace truly costs. They push your limits, test your patience, and force you to choose between reacting out of emotion or responding out of wisdom. And every time you choose calm over chaos, silence over shouting, peace over pride, you evolve. You become stronger, wiser, untouchable. The smartest way to deal with toxic people isn't to change them, it's to change how you respond to them. You can't heal people who enjoy being broken. You can't convince people who are committed to misunderstanding you, but you can protect your peace. You can rise above. You can decide that your energy, your mind, and your soul are too valuable to waste on anything that drains your spirit. So protect your peace like your life depends on it, because it does. Your peace is your power. Your calm is your strength. The moment you stop letting people pull you into their storms, you start living in your own sunshine. Walk away with grace. Speak only when it serves growth, and never let anyone steal the quiet you fought so hard to find. Because true power isn't in controlling others, it's in mastering yourself. And when you reach that point, when you can face toxicity with peace, manipulation with silence, and disrespect with dignity, that's when you've truly won.